Hello again, Year 6, and welcome to your Year 6 English lesson, Lesson 5. As always, you need something to write with, you need your writing from this week, and you need your plan. Today's the day we're going to write our final persuasive letter to Michael's parents from Michael's head teacher. We want to tell Michael's parents what we think about their plans to sail around the world. We will focus on formality and tone. Our persuasive letter will be inspired by the events from our class text, Kensuke's Kingdom. So I'd like you to pause your video, write down your purpose, your audience, and the emotions you want your audience to feel by the end of the lesson. So our purpose is to persuade, our audience, Michael's parents, and by the end of the lesson we'd like them to feel guilty for sailing around the world with their child, cautious about sailing around the world, or worried about their decision to sail around the world. We're going to edit and improve our writing today, but we're also going to pay a little bit of attention to those last 2 paragraphs. My letter has 8 paragraphs, but yours can have more or less than 8. I thought it took about 8 paragraphs to do the job I wanted to do. But as always, it's as many paragraphs as it takes. We just want to make sure that our final 2 paragraphs allow us to sum up all of our points very briefly, and that very last paragraph has one last attempt to persuade the reader, and it also tells the reader what it is we want them to do as soon as they've finished reading the letter. So here are my last 2 paragraphs again. I'd like you to pay attention to how many times I use persuasive devices and what persuasive devices I use. But I'd also like you to have a look at where I place my persuasive devices. Does where I put them in the letter have a particular effect on the reader? In conclusion, I believe that your journey may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Michael. He may be able to see everything which the world has to offer. That being said, it cannot be ignored that he will also experience some of the immeasurable dangers which the world has to offer too. Whether you continue your risky decision to embark on this extraordinary journey, or choose the more sensible option of remaining here, we wish you all the best for the future. If you do still plan to travel, we look forward to hearing all about your miraculous travels when you safely return to England. Kind regards, Mr. F. Jones, head teacher. So I'd like you to pause the video and answer these questions about the persuasive devices. Okay, so let's have a look at which devices have been used and how many times. Did you notice some direct address as I speak directly to the reader? Did you notice where I said it again? He may do this, it may do that, and notice my choice of modal verb? Did you notice that I undermined one of the opinions? I said I believe it would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but then I also explained all the immeasurable dangers as well. Did you notice my exaggeration? Immeasurable dangers. And did you notice my emotive language? Risky, miraculous, safely. So now I'd like to pause your video again and think about where certain persuasive devices have been used. Did you notice how the emotive language was mainly used in that final paragraph? I wonder why it might be a good idea to use emotive language in that final paragraph. The final paragraph is the final thing that his parents will read. I want them to be left with an emotion, so I want to make sure the last thing they read uses my emotive language. Great job if you spotted that one, Year 6. Today we need to edit and improve our writing to better persuade the reader. Editing writing improves the way we share ideas with the reader. We edit to make it clear how the reader is meant to read the writing. We edit to make it clear to the reader what information we are sharing. We edit to make it clear how the reader should feel about the information. And as always, when we're editing, the key thing to think about is the reader. Editing writing improves the way we share our ideas with a reader. So as I edit my work today, I'm going to be thinking about these 5 points and making sure I've edited and improved these. So first, I want to make sure my writing is organised into paragraphs which have a clear purpose. Then I want to make sure I have used facts to support each of my arguments. Then I want to make sure I've used a variety of persuasive devices to effectively get the reader to share my point of view. Then I'm going to focus on my emotive language and make sure that I've used it throughout my text, but mainly in my final paragraph. So I might want to check that I've expanded my noun phrases, and I want to make sure that I've used some relative clauses as well. And then I want to make sure that my writing is formal and suitable for the purpose. I need to remember I'm a head teacher writing to parents. Persuade means that you want to convince your reader that what you're saying is true. Who are we trying to persuade, and what is it we're trying to persuade them to do? We're trying to persuade Michael's parents to think again about travelling around the world on a yacht. So let's recap on some of these persuasive devices. If the unthinkable were to happen and your yacht were to capsize, will you be equipped to tackle such a catastrophe? What is this an example of? It's a rhetorical question. Colossal tidal waves, being stranded in the doldrums, losing all your worldly possessions in a wreck. What is this an example of? It's the power of 3. What is a formal letter? A formal letter has an official purpose. It contains language choices which set a serious tone. It avoids chatty language. A formal letter is usually written to someone who you do not know very well. We are writing as Michael's head teacher. We are writing to Michael's parents. So let's put these phrases in order, starting with the least formal. Your young son may be incredibly lonely on the ship. I strongly believe that your young son will feel isolated when out at sea. It is clear to me, and many others, that Michael may be isolated when out in the vast ocean. Your young son hasn't got much of an opportunity to make friends. Michael will be lonely on the boat. Pause your video and have a think about which is the least formal and which is the most formal. Okay, let's have a look. So I thought this one might be the least formal. Michael will be lonely on the boat. None of the word choices are particularly formal. The next one, your young son hasn't got much of an opportunity to make friends. Because they've used the contraction hasn't, it makes it more chatty, it makes it less formal. But the word opportunity is a good word choice. Number 3, your young son may be incredibly lonely on the ship. I've seen quite a few good choices there for formality. May, incredibly, ship. Number 4, I strongly believe that your son will feel isolated when out at sea. I thought this sounded very formal. But number 5, the most formal, it is clear to me, and many others, that Michael may be isolated when out on the vast ocean. Pause the video and write down any words or phrases you'd like to use in your own writing when you edit and improve. Emotive language often aims to persuade the reader to share the writer's point of view by using language to create an emotional reaction. Emotion means a feeling. Which of these is not an example of emotive language, and why do you think this? Number 1. There are a vast number of dangers lurking out in the open waters which could strike at any moment. Number 2. There are many dangers in the open sea. Your ship could capsize in the water. Number 3. The dangers which await you are countless. Can you honestly say that you have considered all of these? Pause the video and have a go. So let's have a look at number 1 first. I can see words like vast, dangers lurking, could strike at any moment. Let's have a look at number 2. Number 2 does not use any emotive language. Let's look at number 3. Which await you. Can you honestly say, have considered all of these? It uses emotive language. Today, we want to edit and improve our writing to better persuade the reader. So which of these edits improve the writing? Here's my first attempt. To end, I think that your journey may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Michael. I also think that he might get bored on the trip. So let's have a look at 2 edits. In conclusion, I believe that your risky journey may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Michael. He might be able to see everything which the world has to offer. Number 2. Finally, I believe that your journey will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Michael. I also think that he might get isolated on the trip. Pause the video and have a think about which edit improves the writing better. So let's have a look at the edits. If I look at number 2 first, I can see that they've tried to change one of the word choices to finally. I can see that they've used the word believe instead of think. I can see that they've changed the modal verb from may to will. And I can see that they've used the word isolated. These are good improvements. But let's have a look at number 1. They've used in conclusion. It just sounds a little bit more formal. They've expanded the noun phrase from your journey to your risky journey using emotive language. They've also used a colon followed by a list. The colon here is actually giving some evidence to back up their point. I think the first example is a little bit better. It really improves the writing with the formality, with the emotive language, and by backing up the argument with a fact. Let's have a look at another edit. If you still want to go ahead with your plan to embark on this odd journey or choose to remain here, we wish you all the best for the future. Let's have a look at the first edit. If you still want to go along with your unsafe plan to embark on this dangerous journey or choose to remain here safe, we wish you all the best for the future. Number 2. Whether you continue with your risky decision to embark on this extraordinary journey or choose the more sensible option of remaining here, we wish you all the best for the future. Pause the video and have a look at which one best improved the writing. So let's start with number 1. I can see that they've changed some of the word choices. They've used to go along. They've used unsafe plan and expanded that noun phrase. They've also said this dangerous journey. So they've changed the word choice. And I see that they've used the word safe as well. These are good edits. So let's look at the second one. Whether you continue sounds more formal. Risky, extraordinary, and sensible have been placed so that they form an emotion for the reader. I think the second example improves the writing slightly more. It's just slightly more formal and slightly more emotive. So now it's your turn to have a go at your first task. Your task is to edit your persuasive formal letter. Remember to refer back to your plan, which you used all week long. Think about how the end of your letter will leave the reader feeling. Here's my tick sheet, which I used earlier for my writing. I want to make sure that I'm thinking about the reader every time I'm making an improvement. Pause the video now, edit your writing, and then come back for your final task. Okay, by now you should have a finished edited letter. So now it's your turn to write your final letter to persuade Michael's parents. Use your tick sheet to ensure that your letter uses all our formal and persuasive devices. Read your letter to someone at home and ask them to tell you how persuasive you've been. Have you convinced them to have the same viewpoint as you? Make sure you use your tick sheet at the end of your writing. How many ticks do you think you get as you write? You might even want to count up how many times you've used a persuasive device or emotive language. So, time to write up your final letter. I'm really looking forward to reading these final versions. You can write it into your book or you can copy it up onto J2E. Good luck, Year 6. Well done for your hard work this week.